Okay. Hello, hellos. This is Miss Kim again with her usual suspects, joining you live from a super cold city. I'm just going to call it city today in Botswana. But yet, super, super excited as we acknowledge the shift we're seeing, especially in the business space. Of course, as you know it, Africa is the youngest continent with our biggest population, our under 35, we have 60%. Yet our unemployment level is alarming. However, with the advent of our tech and much more AI, we are seeing a huge disruption in the market, which is very, very encouraging. So I'll give the mic to my co-host, Miss Judith, to do her introduction, and then we get into the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Kim, and hello to everyone who's joining us this afternoon here in Gaborone, Botswana, Southern Africa. And yes, it is quite cold. It's colder in the house than it is outside, but we're here nonetheless to talk about this subject that is ever increasing in seriousness. It is critical. Not only do we have the largest youth population on this continent, but we have an increasing number of people who are leaving formal employment. Um, and so this subject that we're exploring this afternoon, that we've been exploring for the past few weeks with Miss Kim, is extremely urgent. It's urgent because there are people who are looking for ways and means to continue being economically active, and being able to support their families, provide for themselves using other means. So, Miss Kim's experience with tech, but also her experience with having left formal employment and launching herself into entrepreneurship, I think is something that's quite important for us to understand and appreciate. And it'll give us the inspiration that we're all looking for, whether you're a young person who's just recently graduated or an older person who's had to leave work for various circumstances, but still eager and active and energized to continue working. I've been on a steep learning curve with Miss Kim, pulling me by both ears and my nose to make sure that I understand and appreciate what the world of technology has to offer. And I believe I'm making headway, slowly but surely, taking it one day at a time. And, working on removing the phobia that I have or that I had. I need to start talking about it in the past sense. For some of the things that AI has brought to us, and just looking to explore the opportunities that lie within. So, yes, Miss Kim, I'd love to start off though. I know you're supposed to be talking about some of the AI tools that you found most convenient, but before you go there, I'd like for you to please share a little bit about your experience. When you advertised this particular podcast, you talked about the fact that you were fired 3 times. Now, having worked with you for, gosh, it's been over 18 months now that we've been at it almost daily. I get very worried. I think I would get very worried if I heard you talking about trying to get a job, because I'm not sure you would manage that. But I'm curious, and I'm sure people are curious to say, what happened? You said you got fired 3 times. What happened, and how did you find the willpower to continue and actually launch yourself into entrepreneurship, which is something that, some of us find a bit difficult.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Judith. Yeah, I think it stems from a point of where, because when I was getting fired, I was very young. I was 20, but I kept on having constant arguments with my boss. So, and maybe those are the life skills sometimes we learn. I don't, and maybe also it speaks volumes to my personality. I'm very fast. I'm super hardworking. Like I always tell the team anytime I have a new hire, I tell them my energy should not, don't try to match my energy. Of course, now with age, I'm a little bit slow, pretty much slow actually, but I'm like this. So I can think about an idea, and in 2 days' time, it's launched. I'm marketing, I've tested. And if I am confined to work with people, then I find that painfully slow and stifling. So I don't cope. And that is where I belong to quite a number of associations. I work with others, but quite often I'm just going like, I either take one department and head, but just waiting for people to make decisions, iterate again and again. That really bothers me. So how I kept on losing my job is I don't find it necessary to have rules or some strictness that's not making sense. So especially then, my job was I was a salesperson. Just give me the target. I didn't like this the usual corporate thing of constant meetings. And it's something I've seen. Salespeople hate meetings, and especially aggressive salespersons, because sometimes it can be you truly wasting my time with protocol, with bureaucracy, with training that sometimes salespeople feel I got the training, I know what to do. So I've never really appreciated the concept of 8 to 5 for salespeople, because salespeople, there's no stopping. So why are you forcing me to be in the office at 8? Yet I started work at 7, and I could go to my clients close to where I live, right? So that rule of 8 to 5 was something that my boss kept on giving me warning letters. Then obviously challenging the status quo and challenging their thoughts. It's something I see very common in corporates. If you become too smart for your boss, you're intimidating the boss, because it's likely the CEO will notice you. And truly it happened. Within a very short time, the CEO started knowing me by name. And this was a big company that is actually, then it was in about 10 countries, but I was hitting the record. So every week we used to get incentives, and I was getting every week, I would top from all the companies. I remember we were actually getting 50 US dollars, which was a lot of money then. And I could constantly get my 50 US dollars. And then because in sales, there's no limit, you can make a lot of money. So I was making a lot of money that within a short time, I was also looking at that I can do this on my own. Where am I here? Where am I being employed? So in that instant of the 1 year, these conversations with my boss they were getting very draining. Then by the time I resigned, my boss, who was actually British and pretty older than us, wanted to take me to Mauritius to open a branch. So when we had that discussion, I said, I'm happy to go to Mauritius, but as a shareholder. And he was so upset.
And you were 20 years old.
I was 20 years old. I said, I can go to Mauritius and run your branch, but as a shareholder. I actually remember, I should remind him one of these days because I'm sure he can't remember. But then my boss had a lawyer, a very prominent lawyer in Gabs. So he called me for a meeting at Avani. By then it was GSAN. Called me for a meeting. The meeting was dinner. We started the conversation very nicely, but he found it very insulting that I would ask for shares. He actually got so upset. And I told him, watch this space. Now I won't just have shares within your company. I will own mine and have 100% shares. And maybe you can come, I can sell to you at some point. That was like, girl, this little girl that I pay some little money.
Exactly. And that's what you were to him, a little girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little girl, I was 20.
Yeah.
So I started on my own, and there has never been looking back. I have run several businesses. Not all of them have been successful. I've closed several. I've lost money. Some have gone belly up. But even in my darkest times, getting employed is never an option. Never an
Wow.
option. I remember at one point I was really doing badly, like my business again went belly up. And I wrote to a few people, and people who know me were very keen to hire me. So there was one very kind Indian person. But I kept on, I think 3, 4 days, I told him, you know what, I'm just going to waste your time. I'm not that kind of a girl. I'll just disappoint you. Let's see if we could work together in any other way. Because I knew the industry I was getting to, it's an industry I've always wanted to learn, but I knew it will not work. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we're very disruptive and we don't like the rules. We like making and breaking our own rules. It may not be very good quality, but I think also to be an entrepreneur, the resilience that you've built, the knack for problem solving, you don't see anything that's so big. Any problem, any challenge you encounter, which is one of the skill that I like encourage young people, especially if you start when you're young. However, I still feel subject to what course you've done. Sometimes it's nice to work for corporates, even if it's 3, 5 years and maybe mostly middle class. I don't think there's a lot to learn from very big companies, but young companies, because they have systems. And for me, that has been my struggle. Every time I've tried to hire somebody who is coming from big corporates, they don't cope. And then it's like a conveyor belt. This is how we do things. But people who've worked for small companies, there are moments that I'll tell them, no, 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 go to the street and print. The printer has run out of ink. When you hire someone from big corporates, they expect cappuccino and coffee machine and a cleaner. So they find it very frustrating and they end up not being. I actually learned this because I've always been very passionate about the books business. I
The what
hired
business?
a
Sorry,
lady,
Miss Kim. The
books
oh book.
education business.
Okay.
I've always, of all my businesses, I've been consistent with selling books. I've always sold books. I love selling books. So there's a time I hired the biggest bookshop about 20 years ago. The biggest bookshop in Zim was closing down. And I hired the top manager who had created like 40 branches. 40, so I knew because I by then especially my vision was to have bookshops and books accessible in every corner of Botswana, that kids will never have to struggle to get books. So by then, conversations with supermarkets, can't we have books in supermarkets? Can't we have some little bookshops in every corner? And of course, I was also supplying libraries with books. I feel everyone should always access a book. So this lady could not cut it. She was so nice, she was so polite, but within 2 weeks we were just looking at each other and I'm going like, no, I'm sorry. So that was my big lesson.
I was going to ask you because 20, you're very young, you know, and being fired is probably not a pleasant experience. It can't be. And you touched upon, you know, a couple of things. You spoke about resilience. I don't know if you mentioned willpower, but you certainly illustrated the willpower that you have. But what are and sometimes the conversation around, you know, the soft skills that you need to push on gets lost because everybody just wants to move ahead as fast as possible. But
Yes.
what are some of the things that you would suggest to young people that they do or um, they nurture within themselves in order to move past a negative experience like getting fired?
Thank you. I love that question. They should build, you know, this, as much as we are on air, I always encourage people build the knack to always have a side hustle. You should always have plan B. Whatever job you're doing, there should be an exit clause, especially for our young people. Because also, and even if you just want to move on and get employed, I don't think our Gen Zs are proud of, I've worked for this company for 10 years. That's not them. And I don't encourage that because you're going to pick a different experience from one company to the other. And and it's okay. It doesn't mean that we all have to be entrepreneurs. Some of us are happy being employed, and it's fine. And I get it. Some jobs are very, very comfortable that you don't want to be the think tank. And it doesn't mean that always when you're employed, you don't think. There are people in positions that you constantly making decisions, yet you're employed. But then it could be a big entity that also makes you extremely comfortable. You never struggle for funding, for marketing, for anything. There's plenty of money, and you're also creating an impact. So to our young people, ensure that you build your soft skills no matter what. Adaptability is critical. You will always be you'll always be agile, so you can easily adapt. And as you work for whichever organization, don't be shy to showcase your other skills. A lot of people, I think, because of companies abuse, they will not showcase that I'm not just a marketer. I'm also an accountant. I can do a little bit of this. You get it? Even if it's my 8 to 5, but I'm skilled in this other area and I can help. Because what you need to understand is by you doing that, as much as you might feel you're just giving it for free and you're not getting paid enough to compensate because now you're doing two jobs, you are pushing and learning. That's a skill that you're getting. You're polishing that. So it's okay and it's very aligned to accept the company to assign you extra task. Do your best and be the best at whatever you do. Be an asset to that company. If you're a cleaner, just be the best cleaner that doesn't want to be told, but these windows are dirty. That you are actually a great asset to the company. Align yourself, pick on the most active person within the company and work closely to that person. Make that person your mentor so that you have skills by the time you decide to leave, or even if you don't leave, you can add more value to that organization. And also, especially this day and age, we need to be lifelong learners. If whichever but I'm always emphasizing on any good company should have a training program. There has to be empowerment you're giving your people. Train them. Don't feel like after I train them, they're gonna be so good to leave my company. That should not be the point. I've lost thousands of my digital marketing persons because I'm so passionate about digital marketing. So I work closely with them and I train. Because obviously my company is still young, so I don't hire the very high level. I'm okay to work with fresh graduates. Sometimes I'm not even graduates. And I know for the first 3 months, I'm working with you closely to train you. After 3 months, they get companies that pay them 3 times. And that's my pride and joy. And I make it very clear even when you're starting. I'm starting you off at this. If in 3 months' time I can't pay you more, I'm happy to help you even get a good job. That is how we feel we pay forward.
Yeah. And it's something that I think is amazing about you, Miss Kim, because most companies would be reluctant to lose talent, once they've invested a lot of money in them. But I like that, I like that advice. It's something that I've done, is be a lifelong learner and pick something that's not quite in your direct field, something that you still feel passionate about. And there's a lot. And thanks to COVID, I think all of us have been exposed to online courses, and there are some that are completely free of charge. If you want the certificate, you can add, I think, some as low as $30 to get the certificate. So you know there are different platforms that you can access all kinds of um, training trainings on, and you'll develop a skill that you can utilize somewhere. Okay, so let's jump into because I think we've got about 40 minutes left, and I know that the main reason we're having this podcast this afternoon is for you to tell us about, what are some of the platforms, what is some of the technology that you adopted to use. I mean, one of the things that I'd like you to think about as you're responding, Miss Kim, is, reading is something that I love. I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about picking up a book, a physical book, turning the
Mhm.
pages and reading. Um, it's something I worry about. I don't see our young children investing enough time in reading. Maybe they're forced to read some things at school, but they'd rather stay on their gadgets. So, what is it that, and you love books, you've been selling books for a long time.
Mm.
What is it that we can do to ensure that our children continue reading? And you can park that for now, because I'm asking an additional question to what I wanted you to talk about, which is, when you first left your job, what is it that you jumped into? What did you discover? That was a long time ago, and I know there's a lot that has changed. But maybe we can start from that. What got you into technology? Why did you become, because you're passionate about it, to a point where you have these weekly podcasts encouraging young people to join your future tech program, where you're training them how to use technology to be self-employed. You have folks like me, who are looking for something else to do because life happened. So what is it that first got you, um, technology wise, Miss Kim? And if you can start with that and then take us on that journey of how you got to where you are now.
Thank you, Miss Judith. It's a very interesting thing and a little bit embarrassing to say that my knack for technology comes from having grown up in a farm, and I didn't like manual work. I didn't like manual work. So, especially, I should take you to my village farm one day, you see. This is when I think about it and I go like, picking coffee is so complicated. We did it every Saturday because coffee ripens, but the way it ripens, it will be a bunch with some green and red, and they're hard to pick. So this is like you see like the grapes. So that's how it comes out. They're like grapes hanging on a tree, but you can only pick the red ones. So in this, it's a branch with like 10 of them, and maybe you have to select only 4 that are ripe because only pick the ripe ones. You leave the rest and you pick the other Saturday. You leave them to ripen up. It is a hard job. And if the farmers listening, they just go like, really, we do it every day.
And I
So
and I appreciate and respect, because coffee is my favorite. It's the first thing I do when I wake up. I'm very biased. I think Ethiopia has the best coffee, followed by Costa Rica. I love Costa Rican coffee, but so yes, I appreciate and respect people who pick coffee. So maybe then you should solution for that, Miss Kim. How can you make their lives a little bit easier? But we can talk about that later.
yeah, actually, I just don't know if so far we have robots that are picking coffee. But so I didn't like to date housework. So for me, even my kids are grown, but there's always a house helper. I love working with my brain. I love working with the laptop. Then I love automation of processes. So I'm so much of a process person. I don't like repetitive work, manual work. If you hired me in a supermarket, you'd fire me the same day. It doesn't matter how much you pay me, but if you tell me my work is to pack things every day, that's not me. I don't like working in environments that are not, you're not challenging me, that I'm doing the same thing every day. That is extremely draining for me. So I think it's maybe how my brain is wired, could be my personality. So I got to tech to escape manual work. And how I got into tech is still going through school. We had, when computers started early in the 90s, we had non-profit organizations that would come to our towns, our schools, and teach us basics in computing. But then obviously we didn't have computers in our home. It was such a big deal, the box computer. So I would go to those centers, and that's how I learned Word, Microsoft Excel, and I learned to start with opening my first email. And the day I discovered internet, I found it so fascinating. What do you mean you can send an email and somebody miles away will get the email? So with that fascination, it got me started to, as much as I did a lot of education books work, I started with VCR. You remember the video cassette? The youngsters listening have no idea what I'm talking about. So those ones was my thinking of how do we make it easier for students to understand what the teacher is talking about? How can we record the teacher? Then the student can repeat again and again. So I went to SABC. SABC by then I think was the only place in Southern Africa, SABC studio, that was producing videos. which were packaged in VHS. You put in a VCR deck and you watch on TV. And
Gosh, you're
then
taking me down memory lane. Yes.
it was so nice. So I introduced the concept to schools in Botswana, and we got so busy. Every school wanted to buy. So you're just selling videos, but you have to. They tell you, but we don't have a TV, we don't have a deck. So we started supplying a deck, a TV, and VHS, the videos. And then we'll obviously like just introduce to the kids what is in the video stuff. Like it was super awesome. From biology to physics, chemistry to basics of English history, SABC was packaging everything. Then we advanced when Eurotalk, a company in UK called Eurotalk, they started. So my love for internet, I don't think I could go for a day or ever go for a day without being online. So I would research, which developed my knack for research. I'm naturally a researcher because I mean, just Google it. So from Google it, I found Eurotalk. We became very good friends with Eurotalk. There was a very nice guy who was called Steve, and he started shipping to us CDs. Now we've advanced, not VCR, but CD. So I actually started like I would ship an entire pallet, and that's a lot. So, and that's how I started my first shop. Because then I started even encouraging parents come and buy a video. And then there was another company that started producing in South Africa. So we became pretty well known with that education space, sort of just making it easier for teachers, supplying that. At some point, we started recording, producing our own until we got into software. Then now we are on apps. So I'm still a strong believer of there's a different way of learning. We don't have to stick to the traditional way. If you can get a teacher who repeats 10 times, I'll get it faster. So now we're talking about virtual reality, simulations. The world has advanced. AI really bridging that gap and helping.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we jump into the 10 AI platforms, I want you to talk for a couple of minutes about destination imagination. You brought it to Botswana, is it 5, 6 years ago?
5 years.
Um, 5 years ago. What is it that you're doing with DI? What have you been able to accomplish with it in Botswana? And why are you so passionate about it?
Thank you. So, something that has troubled me for so long has been Botswana, and I think, no, let me say not Botswana, Africa is the second continent that spends its biggest budget on education. Even in Botswana, I think from health, maybe the budget, the biggest budget could be health, army, maybe, but the second, oh, it's always second or third, the biggest budget. We spend billions of money in education. Yet, it still doesn't make sense the outcome we have because the level of unemployment from our graduates is very high. So that is something I kept on researching on that what is happening? Is it the way we teach? Is it the curriculum? Or is it our students? And I felt very disgruntled to discover that it has a lot to do with the curriculum because we still teach the colonial curriculum. So right now, if you ask for computer science graduates, you get thousands. If you talk about the continent, you get millions. The universities are producing them. If you ask for some that can create for you just a little app, even a website, you'll be surprised how many can do it. So we're talking of 4 million jobs that have no people to fill that gap, which is huge. That is just in cybersecurity. That is huge. We're talking of the highest rate of unemployment that we're actually calling it a pandemic. So there has to be a reason for that. And I greatly saw the curriculum, the teaching methodologies, the way we have trained our teachers. So we can't even blame them. They're teaching how they were taught, which is not working, and as not advancing with the times. Even besides blaming the colonial, which maybe the colonizers, even in their own countries, are the same way they were teaching. Some of them to date, they're still teaching the same way. What we did 20 years ago, let's even talk about 10 years ago, is not working today. It's not. And this is a wake-up call. Education systems, how we teach our curriculums, that system is gone and dead, and it will never ever be the same. And the earlier we accept that, the better. So I did extensive research on what program can I get that would accelerate how we learn. Obviously, I was very interested in STEAM education, and I looked at within STEAM, there are a lot of jobs. So we're way past this is my passion. We are fast on what's going to pay bills. And we can also develop the passion for that. There are so many people, actually, the statistics say, I don't know what percentage, but millions of people do jobs they don't like. So you're doing a job you don't like and you're underpaid. So, how about if I can help you develop a passion in STEAM education, in STEAM space? Then you pick a career that certainly is going to give you a job that pays well. Because STEAM courses, STEAM programs, right now, if you look at the scholarships, there are so many scholarships for anything in STEAM education and bespoke STEM. So, my biggest differentiator was I'm very particular on the A for arts. So I don't go for STEM, I go for STEAM. And I was struggling to get a program that's pretty well done, that would fit within the African market, that incorporates soft skills, which is a huge struggle. Adaptability, emotional intelligence, communication, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity. There's a huge gap. We've seen PhD graduates who will not even apply for a job or look at you in the eyes. Surely, by the time you're graduating with your PhD, you should be having a personality like you're a brand. You've produced some world class reports. You've done something. So you should even be a guest lecturer somewhere.
Yeah.
But you,
Yeah.
you don't have the knack for problem solving. You can't communicate effectively. You can't go somewhere and sell yourself. So I've been very, very passionate about developing that skill, which I feel it's the most fundamental. It is the most difficult to achieve. It is the most important. If you can get your soft skills, it is very easy for you to layer up and get the hard skills. But first, talk to me. Yes.
Yeah.
Communicate. Let me know who
Yeah.
you are. Let me know what you like.
Yeah.
So that's what made me look at Destination Imagination and see this is a perfect fit for the continent because it produces world class. Then this program has been there for the past 30 years. So it has a track record. It has produced world class citizens. And I brought it into Botswana.
And it's amazing. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to watch it in action, and I see how excited the kids get, at the different things that you do with them, the robotics, and just explaining different concepts to them that are so new. But I also love the fact that last year you combined green education. You combined an element of conservation, which was a lot of fun. So I think there's just so much potential for Destination Imagination, Miss Kim. I know you've been going out there and trying to attract the attention of schools in not just in Gaborone, but also in some of the outlying villages. And I believe it's a program that's going to do fantastically well because, like you said, in addition to teaching them the hard skills, you're giving them the confidence. And there's nothing better than having a child who's so confident they will ask you things and question you and be very inquisitive. And that's something that we have to deliberately build in our children because I have seen it. I have seen young people who've got A-star grades who are unable to respond to questions in an interview that could potentially give them a scholarship. And it's very painful to watch that. And then, of course, there are other soft skills that we also need to teach our young. But I think DI is a fantastic program, and I know that it'll continue to do well and spread. You've got another program called Future Tech now, and I think maybe what we can do now, Miss Kim, is get into the serious. Well, it's all been a serious conversation, but get into what we intended to talk about today, which is, what are some of these platforms that you've been utilizing? What helps you get DI running? And, how have you been doing it? And maybe with the platforms that you really appreciate. I know we talk about LinkedIn, and we've agreed that we're going to do a separate session on LinkedIn because there are lots of people, young and older people, who would love to utilize LinkedIn more. But let's park LinkedIn for today and talk about some of these other platforms that you want to recommend to anybody who's listening to us this afternoon on, becoming your own boss, running your own business.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's actually quite fulfilling to work in the space where you're able to integrate technology into everyday life and things that you're doing and things that you're passionate about. And what I've seen and what I'd really love to encourage entrepreneurs or just people thinking about what to do, what next, which is what we're doing with Future Tech. It's to strongly encourage people to come up with a way of monetizing your skill. And if you think you don't have that skill, then get the skill. It's very easy, just like you said earlier, now to access so many free courses. It makes me sad when I see our graduates who can barely buy their data for them even to apply for a job or even go for an interview. And yet there are solutions online. Now, with this advent of AI is creating millionaires and creating them every single day, literally. Now, we're not even talking about millionaires. We don't want to be that ambitious. We just want to focus on, can we pay bills? So, entrepreneurship, to start with, it's no longer reserved for those with capital or for those who can code. You don't have to be a tech person. Or for those with connections, just because my uncle is a big shot somewhere, that does not matter anymore. It's now for anyone who understands how to leverage AI as a force multiplier. If you can just learn how to leverage AI. So with Future Tech, AI tools allow us to focus on vision and impact, not spreadsheets, not design bottlenecks, not legal guesswork. Actually, my lawyer the other day was asking me, what is happening? I told him AI has happened. I can't remember the last time I told my lawyer to check on my documents. Because now, besides just using the usual platform, I discovered a very good tool that just focuses on legal work. So why not? It's
Let me
creating for me
interrupt.
to use. Mm.
Let me interrupt you there, though, Miss Kim. I think one of the things for me, and there's always a disclaimer, I know, when you use ChatGPT, that it can make mistakes. So, as much as you can rely on AI to do everything for you, don't you still need some level of human intervention? You're on mute.
Yes, you do. You need human intervention. You do. But guess what? You can also create, the thing is, we're not trying to replace humans. We are trying to automate processes and make it easier for humans. However, there are some jobs that AI will do alone that you just need to do an input. And if you've seen it, the job losses are massive because now a job that needed to be done by 100 people can be done by one person. So, personally, there's actually for the first time, a bit of last year, for like 6 months, I didn't notice that we didn't have a digital marketing person because it became so easy for me to do. I love having a digital marketing person. I always do. Sometimes I'll even have two or three because I believe in us being online. But like right now, we had a boot camp on Saturday. There are so many videos we generated. It will actually literally take me 10 minutes to put them together and make them world class. And I don't know, I am so horrible in the world of design. It's not my gift, video creation and stuff like that. But there's an AI tool for that. So I'm
So
actually,
you so you can take all the videos you generated on
yes,
Saturday,
Yeah.
and then you can instruct an AI tool to edit it,
Yes.
to use it anywhere.
Absolutely. And it's going to be world class. It's going to
But
be better than
you
if you're not
still have
using
to
AI.
review it. Miss Kim will still have to review it to make sure that it's got all
Yes.
the elements that you need. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'll still review it. But this is a job. Video editors, sometimes it can take them six hours, it can take them 10 hours. Now, this one, and I'm such an amateur in the world of video production and editing and design and stuff like that. At most, it will take me 30 minutes, maybe maximum an hour. I have a tool that will do for me the voice cleaning and recording. And I have a little bit of voice recordings from those children so that it can be very natural. So I'll humanize it. And then I will integrate with now the platform that will put those two together and produce world class visuals. So if
Wow.
do you want me to run you down some of the tools we use?
Yes, I would. And I think already now you've identified uh, a business for a young person who loves
Mhm.
doing video recordings, who loves doing, I'm assuming, yeah, videos of people talking, interviews, etc., who can
Mhm.
make their lives much easier using these tools. Maybe you could mention a couple of the tools, Miss Kim, that you're using to do that work for you, because I
Yeah.
suppose somebody running a company like you would
Mhm.
not necessarily have the time always to do that. So you would
Yes.
still perhaps require somebody to come in and take the photographs and take the videos. But instead of them spending a week doing the editing for you, they could get it done in a couple of days and move on to the next job.
Absolutely. We still
Yes.
have, yeah, we still have a team that does that. But now what I do, it's so, I hope they're listening. Because of course I'm the oldest in the company. Most of them are half my age or below. But I'm the old school. They're brighter and smarter than I. But in most cases, I'm the one who teaches them how to use these tools.
Perhaps because they don't know, and what excites me about this, Miss Kim, is they don't know, but what I do know about currently in Gaborone, and I believe in some of the bigger villages outside in Botswana, is that many of the schools have internet. Government has deliberately put internet access to many of these places so that, and we've spoken about it, where you'll see folks sitting outside a school accessing the internet. I've seen youngsters with laptops outside the school in my neighborhood. So there is an opportunity for them to now go and research, but maybe they just didn't know that this was something that actually exists. Because imagine the opportunities for a young person living in a in an area that's frequented by tourists. This could be some kind of business that they could start and run with by getting closer to one of the camps, etc. My mind is running wild. But yes, back to you, Miss Kim.
You know the biggest struggle we have, and I think it's not even an African thing, it's global. Mindset shifts, adaptability, and getting to understand the only constant we have in life is change. I'm still to date struggling to convince the team and a lot of people that I meet that just AI it. Because AI presents for you, I don't know which solution that AI will not give to you. And I get a lot of pushback.
Yes, and I know I've been one of those to push back. I will admit, when I get into a meeting these days and I'm in a meeting by myself waiting for others with the AI note takers, I can tell you the first few times it freaked me out. I didn't want to be in the room with the AI note takers. There's just something a little bit freaky about it. But when you get used to it,
Yeah.
it's something that's okay. And so that's, I think the other day I mentioned, when I was told, when ATMs first came to Botswana, there was not the ATM, sorry, there was a function that was introduced where ATMs were now accepting cash, and
Mm.
folks did not want to put their cash into a machine. They wanted to hand it to an individual. So it takes time, and I think with time we'll get used to all these maybe not everything. I can't get used to the AI assistants. I'm sorry. That one still really freaks me out. And perhaps one day I'll get used to yours, Miss Kim, but I'm far away from having one of my own. But it's something that will grow. We don't have a choice but to change and to adapt with the times. And those of us who have children, that's even more difficult. You have to make sure that you understand what technology is bringing, because these kids are using it and you need to be able to understand it to ensure that these kids are using it properly. But yeah,
Mm.
let's run through a few of those programs, Miss Kim, because we are left with not a lot of time for this podcast. But let me allow you now to just go through some of those platforms that you find very useful. You've mentioned the one about editing videos and interviews, etc. But what else? What else will a young person who really now is listening to Miss Kim for the first time, is what you think will help them switch to wanting to become an entrepreneur and not really focusing on sending out hundreds of CVs only to be rejected?
So I want to encourage them. Anybody listening, please use ChatGPT, because there are still people who are not using it or who don't know it. And it's not the only platform. There are many. So this is an agent that helps you with ideation, copywriting, research, automation. You can literally create an entire book with it. You can draft newsletters. Like, I'm a blogger, and I've been blogging for some years, even before we started blogging using AI. And my blog subscription has grown double, which I hardly get time to clean. I don't go into all these tools that make it sound it's not AI. I am so open about it that yes, I'm using AI to create my newsletters, which obviously I am very human. I talk about, so my way of using ChatGPT is I'll tell my story. I'll just type on it, but it's my personal story. It's a project I'm doing. It's some advice I'm giving, and then I just get it to generate and make it sound very human. I've had a lot of people that doubt that my content is AI generated, straight up from my social media posts to my newsletters to writing books. I have monetized my books extremely well. I printed 10,000 books about 2 years ago. We ran out of those books like a week ago. And that has been like my survival tool. You know that manna from heaven? Because you just invest heavily on printing 10,000 books. You sat in the house for a week to do them. You paid a designer to put them together, just to put one book, and then you print copies. And I also sell them on online platforms for people to buy ebooks. So you can be able to create your passive income. So this replaces the need for a content strategist, a copywriter, a research account assistant, or just you being able to monetize the skills that you have. You can. I use ChatGPT. I've created my AI agents on my ChatGPT. I have from my mentors. Now you're going to run away from me. For literally every company that I run, I have an AI agent that I've fed into the information on what we're focusing on, that constantly helps me, gives me sound advice. So I'm never scared of saying, I don't know what to do with that project. A month ago, I had people that wanted us to do a smart city. I knew nothing about smart cities, but I went on AI. In 2 hours, I told them, I'm game. Let's research, because it's so easy to research and get every information that you want. Then let me talk about my favorite, Gamma AI. Do you want to talk about Gamma as a user of Gamma?
Yes, I find it quite, and I think I'm still an early user, but the reason why I now enjoy it is because I'm able to put my Word document. So I'll develop something that I really want to present nicely. So I need it to be presented. I also, when I write a lot, So in other words, sometimes it becomes too much
Mhm.
and it needs to be condensed. It needs to be made a little bit more succinct. So I've been able to use Gamma to put together a presentation that speaks about the work that I want to do. And what I love about it is that I'm able to I have to come up with the information. So it's not like it's doing it for me. And this is where I feel, because I don't want to feel like this thing has created something about Yodit. No, I've given, I wrote everything that I needed to write in a Word document. And then
Mhm.
I took that Word document and uploaded it into Gamma. And what Gamma does is it makes it into a presentation. Something that I just discovered, which I think is really cool, is
Mm.
you can ask AI to generate images that are linked to the subject that you are discussing. So I have what I'm assuming, and Miss Kim, you'll tell me, are images that have never been seen before, or maybe in the format that they're presented in my document, accompanying the write up that I did. So, what's important as well is once I was done with that, there's certain things you still have to go in and edit. And that's why for me, I cannot imagine a time where you do not need the human eye to look at something. I've had to go back and reword, rewrite, rearrange because sometimes the way it arranges it just doesn't speak to me. I don't want to see it like that. So as much as it still requires editing, what's great is the presentation aspect of it. I can't tell you how many hours I used to spend in my past life not struggling with content because the content is there. It's the work that I did, it's my profession. It
Mm.
was just finding that presentation that was going to be appealing, the
Mhm.
boxes, the circles, the what. It was, it really was very irritating. And here we are, and I don't know how long Gamma's been around, but here we are is a tool that will do it for you literally in seconds. So I think it's something that, I definitely promote when you're a student and you're struggling. And I don't know if it's something that students use, but you're just trying to make something look good so you can present it. I would definitely suggest that folks look at Gamma and use it and share it. Once you've used it, share it with others so that they can see what it feels like. I've just spoken about one aspect of it. I'm sure there's a lot more that you can do with it. But yes, I've really appreciated Gamma, and I appreciate the fact that I can continue using it for free as long as I get others to sign up. So yeah. Thank you, Miss Kim. Now I've taken up your time, but you've got 7 minutes to wrap it up for us by sharing maybe a couple of other tools or maybe a couple more points about Gamma that I don't know.
No, you are so good. You're actually doing so well. I'm so proud of you. Soon, I'll request you to come and teach our future tech students on how to use Gamma.
That will be a good day.
So, my other favorite tool, which I've been using for quite some time, even before AI became a thing, the platforms, is mini course generator. It's a little tool. It won't give you a very elaborate course, but I'm a big fan of creating courses and I've done it over the years. Like every time I'm training, so I'll be training and then I see my students struggle with something, I just sit and create a course. So these people actually, the owners of Mini Course Generator, they gave me this platform for free about 3 years ago, just when they launched, I think. So as one of their users, I've created a lot of courses and I have been selling my courses. So this tool enables us to build short, focused online courses. It includes quizzes, structure logic, and even a landing page. Super perfect for workshops, onboarding, or lead magnets. Since I constantly train my team, and we are constantly using what the corporates call standard operating procedures, where literally like every month there's something we're adding. So this makes it super easy for me because I can always add something new. So I would really advise, excuse me, our listeners, it's an amazing tool. Use course generator. It's obviously it's small tool. I want to believe even if you're to purchase it, I don't think, and I'm sure they give you like 30 days for free. I don't think it's expensive. I don't pay for it. I'm grateful because they actually gave me 1 year free, but now we're going like 3 years. I'm still using it. Yeah, so it
And
helps me.
and
Mm.
how do you I'm excited, and I know one of the things that you've spoken about previously, Miss Kim, is how, somebody who's passionate about plants, for example. I think that's the example you gave.
Yeah.
And you have plants and you are propagating plants and you're selling,
Mm-hmm.
etc., you can
Yes,
create another aspect of your business where you're now training people how to do the same. And
absolutely.
something like this, a course
Mhm.
generator makes it easy. So
Yeah.
what I want to emphasize is that as much as the course generator is there, and I don't know how to use it yet, but I'm certainly going to try it because
Mm.
I enjoy teaching, I enjoy
Yes.
facilitating.
Mm-hmm.
Spreading knowledge, I think, is something that's so important in any field that you're in, especially if it's knowledge that's going to help us sustain life on earth, right? And leave things better than how we found them. Something that I know we share that passion, Miss Kim. We want to make sure that our great great grandchildren are going to enjoy Mother Earth the way we have. Is that you can now not only produce these things to sell, but you can actually also create a program where you're teaching people about what it is that they're doing and how they can do it themselves. And there are lots of people who are doing that already. I think what I see a lot is people who are inviting people to come for workshops, etc., physical workshops. But I believe there are also opportunities for you to do things online. Just what we are doing right now is having a conversation online. And it's something that young people can utilize. It doesn't take much, a laptop, internet access, and yeah, the passion and the will to have these conversations so that others learn. So if you could just, okay, I don't know if there is a place where you could drop it, but maybe if anybody's interested in this program, please send Miss Kim a message, a direct message, a DM, as they call it on LinkedIn, so that she can share with you. Because if you're somebody who enjoys talking to people, and there's so many things that we need to learn about, everyday things that a lot of people don't know. If you happen to be somebody who, like Miss Kim, is keen on technology, maybe you can create a course for the people in your community. Teach them how to use Google, teach them how to use the internet to access information that will help them make their lives much easier. We have a couple of minutes left, Miss Kim. Do you want to mention one
Yeah.
more? Okay.
Yes, it's especially, there are some platforms that we've had within us for years and years. Now they have really advanced with the advent of AI, like Canva. I'm sure you know Canva, right?
I know Canva. I know folks use it to make their resumes pretty, but I haven't really, I've tried to interact with it, but I
Mhm.
haven't, yeah, but I know of it, yes.
Yeah, it's now so brilliant with what they're calling with Magic Studio, which is now sort of an AI suite. So this helps you generate super world-class visuals. I've always taken graphic designing or just creating a flyer like magic because I've really struggled with trying to design my own flyers. Now I don't ask anyone to design a flyer. There's obviously I use AI. I'll use ChatGPT to create a flyer, which is super easy. It's all about mastering your prompt. But also I use Canva now. Like now, this the flyer we're using for this banner I created. I'm not so good, but with AI, I'm getting there. So you can create you're able to generate your own social post, your posters, your brand kits, and you can even design a book and sell or a course. There's so much you can do with Canva. So it's like having a full-time design team, brand strategist, and a social media creator on your laptop. Canva is awesome. I'll advise you all. It's obviously to seasoned designers that are used to using Adobe and more advanced softwares. They find Canva child play. But to us, it's going to give me what I want. I just want a super neat and easy flyer. So, what could have taken you an hour now can take you 10 minutes to design a nice flyer using Canva. So,
That's Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I want us to remember, Miss Kim, is because you keep talking about the prompt. So I know
mhm,
one of the things that's essential in utilizing all these different platforms is the instruction that you give it.
yeah,
And I think that's where possibly a lot of people struggle. You don't give it the right instructions, so it'll generate things for you that are not necessarily useful. So there are a
yeah,
couple of things that I would like for us to, because we've run out of time, that
Mhm.
we'd like for us to talk about in future podcasts, Miss Kim.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
around that.
Mhm.
How do you create the perfect prompt? Because from what I've learned from you, it's not
Mhm.
that simple. It's not like you can sit here, take 2 minutes, and create a prompt that's going to allow you to create a course. No, it doesn't work like that. There's a lot
Mhm.
more involved in that. But I also want us to talk about, what are some of the things that you need to be weary of? What do you need to watch out for? What are some of the risks, some of the things that you want to avoid doing? So that we can get into that, and possibly one day we can get into the ethics of it. But anyway, that's something that I think is also important. I know there are lots of folks out there who are getting into AI ethics, but it's
Mhm.
also an important conversation to have. So I'm going to hand back over to you. I think I'm done. I'm happy. I'm excited that we've had this conversation. I'm hoping that you will hear back from some people who are interested in some of the platforms that you've discussed today, Miss Kim. So
Mhm.
may I hand it over to you now to close this podcast for us. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you. This has great. I'll just quickly give a few pointers on. Okay, so one, AI is a tool that makes it easier for you to do a lot of work. So it's only as powerful as the instructions you give it. We can explore in the next one. I'll share this document where you can understand 10 tools, and there are many, so many other tools. I've just mentioned the tools that we're using every day and how they're making entrepreneurship more accessible, scalable, and powerful than ever before. You can wake up and create your own business. So, from building your online courses like we're doing to automating your legal framework, content flows, they are super awesome tools. However, it is important that you get to understand how to create those instructions. How the prompt engineering, as you have nicely mentioned, be clear and specific. Write something about, be very conscious of what you want. Like, write a 200-word blog post on why AI tools keep helping business scale faster. So, and start with practicing. Be very, very clear, be very particular, be very specific on the instructions you give it. Then give context. So you need to include, like, who is the audience on that format. From, is this for an email, a script, a caption? What do you want it to sound like? What the tone that you want to use? And there are so many YouTubers that are talking about this. So get online and learn as well. Obviously, you should include structure. Ask for bullet points, sections, headlines, examples. Iterate again and again. Refine it. The first answer is never the best. Ask AI to make it shorter, more persuasive, add, get emotional, speak like Mandela. All these things are skills that you learn with time. But the most important thing is don't be scared of trying. So AI will not replace entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs who use AI will outspace those who don't. For sure, for sure. So learn how to prompt better, automate smarter, and scale faster. That's the future we are building, and we need to keep at it. So I hope this episode will give you some value. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and drop us a question. We could cover what you want to learn in our next podcast. For now, we say stay curious, stay building, and don't be scared of trying. Do not. It's a tool. Sometimes I actually fight with my AI tools that I go like, I don't like this answer. And holding my AI tools accountable as well. So let's keep building. Let's build the Africa we want. Thank you so much, our listeners, and look forward to seeing you next Thursday. And remember, we have a Sunday podcast as well. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.